The child stays, the floor manager snapped as the security guard twisted his arm. He leaves. Leela's scream cut through the glass and gold quiet. Let go of my dad, heads turned. Perfume testers froze mid-spray. A couple in silk watched with half lids and smirks. Sir, you're disturbing clients, the manager said, lips tight, voice smooth. This is Hale Aitlier, not a thrift experiment. Evan didn't fight. He kept his eyes on his daughter. Hands off, please, she's scared. The guard yanked harder. Leela lunged, tiny fingers clawing at the guard's sleeve. He didn't do anything. Snickers bounced off the marble. One salesman whispered, probably wandered in to feel the leather. Evan had come for the red dress in the window. Leela had seen it from the bus. Now his cheek was pressed to the polished floor. The door at the back opened. A man in a dark suit stepped out, expression blank, gaze sharp. He saw the guard, he saw the child's hands, he saw the manager's smile. Stop, the man said. Everything did. The guard released his grip. Evan rolled to his side, coughing, and Leela dropped to her knees beside him. The suit's eyes went to the necklace on the child's chest, a small coin, a thin, worn chain. He took a breath that never quite finished. Who authorized this? He asked. The manager recovered her tone. Mr. Hale, he was causing a scene, touching displays, dirtying samples. The child, her name, he said, eyes on the coin. What's your name? Leela wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. Leela. And your mother's, she blinked. Nora. Mr. Hale looked like someone had reached into his chest and pulled something out. He nodded to the guard. Out, now. He faced the manager. Apologize, the manager faltered. To whom? To both, he said, and then go to my office. Evan stood, one arm around Leela. He was thin, his jacket was clean but frayed at the cuffs. He watched the man like he was trying to place a face he'd seen years ago from the wrong angle. Sir, the manager forced out, I apologize for the misunderstanding. Her eyes slid to Mr. Hale. Genuinely, he didn't look at her. He looked at Leela's coin again. That necklace, he said quietly. Where did you get it? From Mommy, Leela said. She said it was lucky. The suit's jaw clenched. Please, he said, shifting back, suddenly careful. Come with me. Evan weighed the exit. He saw the guard. He glanced at Leela. He nodded. If she wants. Leela nodded. They followed Mr. Hale through the hush and eyes and into the back, down a short hallway, into an office lined with framed black and white photos of gowns and runways and one picture of a smiling girl with dark hair leaning over a sewing table. He shut the door and turned to them. He wasn't the owner then. He was just a man who had something stuck in his throat. Nora, he said, tasting the name. How do you know Nora? She's my mom, Leela said. She brightened like kids do when they announce a fact they're proud of. Then her face fell. She's in heaven, that's what Dad says. Mr. Hale swallowed. He sat, then stood again because sitting looked too easy. She was my daughter, he said, voice a little hoarse. Leela blinked. You're my grandpa, he nodded once. Leela looked at Evan. He didn't move. He kept breathing in sharp, even lines. His eyes had stayed on the framed photo of the sewing table. I didn't come here for this, Evan said finally. She saw the red dress in the window. For her recital, we knew we couldn't. He stopped, looked down. It doesn't matter. It matters, Mr. Hale said. He looked at Leela. How old are you? 7, almost 8. She held up fingers. Turn 8 next month. The man's hands shook. He hid them on the back of a chair. She sang, he said, like he was telling himself a story. When she was little, in the kitchen, she made up songs. She wrote songs, Evan said, on scrap paper, on receipts, on the back of our grocery lists. She wrote me, Mr. Hale said. Evan's head snapped up. She tried. His eyes went to Leela. He nodded to himself. Do you have time? He asked Evan. Please sit. Tell me about Nora. Evan didn't sit. He stood because if he sat, it felt like he might be asking. He wasn't. He was here because his daughter wanted to try on a dress she couldn't touch. She left 6 years ago, Evan said. After you told her to, she had Leela. She wanted to show you. She sent letters. She came by. Your staff said you were busy. He looked at the photo again. She eventually believed them. Mr. Hale closed his eyes. She got sick, Evan said. She passed 2 years ago. Leela and I, we do the best we can. Leela leaned into Evan's leg like it was a tree she trusted in a storm. Mr. Hale opened his eyes. You married her. No, Evan said. We were 20. We had Leela. I worked nights. She tried to go back to school. It was messy. The man nodded. His eyes looked at a spot on the wall and didn't move. She asked me for help once, he said, quieter. I told her I would help when she apologized for making me look small, when she chose differently. Evan didn't say anything. Leela picked at the chain at her throat. Mr. Hale exhaled. The red dress. He looked at Leela. Do you want to try it on? Leela nodded. Then she shook her head. We don't have that kind of money, she said, repeating something she had heard in kitchens and grocery aisles. It's okay, I can wear my blue dress and it'll be pretty. Mr. Hale looked down at his hands. It's a dress, he said. It is meant to be worn. Evan lifted his chin. If this is pity, it isn't, Mr. Hale said. It's an apology with a zipper. Silence held a moment, then he picked up his phone. Send Camilla, he said into it, and bring the red dress from the window, the smaller display size. Now, please. A knock. A stylist came in with a bright red dress on a hanger, the color the exact shade of a stoplight telling a car to stay. She smiled at Leela because she knew when to smile. You're going to look like music, the stylist said. What's your name? Leela. Come on, let's see. The stylist led her to a side room, the door shut. Evan stood still. He breathed. He watched Mr. Hale watch the closed door. Why didn't you answer her? Evan asked. I didn't get any letters, Mr. Hale said. Not one. They were sent here, Evan said, to the store, to this street, with your name on it. She wrote every week for a while. She gave up when they came back stamped undeliverable. You're sure of the address? Evan looked at him. She wrote your name so many times she could have drawn it blindfolded. Mr. Hale's gaze shifted, sharpened. Her letters came back. Most, Evan said. Some just went nowhere. A memory moved across Mr. Hale's face, something about the manager and gatekeeping and a desk that sat too close to a door. He picked up the phone again. Ruth, he said, bring me the incoming mail ledger from 2016 to 2020. And the backroom bin, all of it. Now. Ruth's voice came back tight. Right away. The door opened again. Leela stepped out in the red dress. The room altered. It fit. It moved when she breathed. It had a neckline that was sweet but strong, a skirt that swished against her knees. She turned to Evan with a face like someone just told her the world had an extra color. What do you think? She asked, hands fisted at her sides to keep from touching the fabric. Evan's mouth opened and closed. He laughed once like it hurt. You look like Mommy when she tried on silly dresses in the good stores, he said. Leela looked down at herself and laughed too. Can I twirl? Twirl, Mr. Hale said. He said it like a blessing. She spun, careful, and the skirt lifted and fell like the tide. For a moment, the office was a living room and there was sunlight on a linoleum floor, and a woman with dark hair sang something she made up about eggs. A knock broke it. Ruth stepped in with a heavy silver bin, a stack of ledgers, and eyes that didn't want to look anywhere. Behind her was the manager, the one from the floor, pale and rigid. You wanted to see me, the manager said, chin up like a spear. Mr. Hale didn't look at her. He set the bin on the desk and started sifting. Letters, stacks, rubber bands, some addressed to the company, some addressed to him, some with a child's drawing at the end of a line of hearts. He picked one at random. The envelope had been opened and taped. He slid the paper out. The handwriting was his daughter's. He didn't sit. He read standing. Dad, it started. The writing had gotten steadier at the second paragraph. I saw your name in a magazine yesterday and the photographer spelled it right. I wanted to tell you that. Leela said Grandpa sounds like granola and now I can't unhear it. I want you to meet her. She has your eyebrows. She takes hers very seriously. His hand shook. He put the letter down like it was evidence in a courtroom no one had expected. The manager wet her lip. Sir, those are private. Private, he asked, eyes never leaving the bin. They're not to you. If you'd read them then, you would have lost focus, she said. You told me to protect your time. You told me to keep dramas away from the floor. What else did I tell you? He asked. That my daughter's name was a closed room I couldn't open. You were better after, she said. After you stopped talking about her. The press, he held up a hand. Ruth, he said, not taking his eyes from the letters. How long? Ruth kept her gaze level. I've seen these coming in for years, she said. They were set aside. I didn't ask why. That was my mistake. How many? He asked. Ruth looked at the bin. A lot. He read another, and another. He read one written from a city clinic. He read one with a coffee stain and a smiley face over the I in his name. He read one that just said, "Are you okay?" in the blank of a short page. He read one written with a shaky hand that tried to hide the shake. He stopped when he reached the one with the hospital wristband taped to the top. Evan had moved closer without meaning to. He saw the band. He knew it. He had kept the other one in a drawer with rubber bands and old keys. The manager found the edge of righteous. I did what you paid me to do, she said. You built a brand. You became this. Distractions like that ruin men of vision. Mr. Hale set the band down. Vision, he repeated. A man who can see everything in a 10-foot display window but not his own child at the door. He looked at Ruth. Security for Miss Bennett. The manager's chin rose a notch. You can't be serious. I am late to the most serious thing in my life, he said. His voice didn't move much. Go. She waited for the leverage she believed she had. It wasn't there. She left with quick steps that tried to sound slow. Ruth nodded once quick like a small apology and followed with the bin. Mr. Hale exhaled and it took a long time. He turned to Leela, who was pressing the side seam of the red dress like it might vanish if she let go. I failed your mom, he said, voice so calm it almost broke the room. I failed you without even knowing you existed. He looked at Evan. I don't expect you to forgive me in an office. Evan said nothing. I can offer you care, Mr. Hale said. I can offer you support, not pity, he added because he saw the flinch. You don't need pity, you need rest. We need her to sing on Saturday, Evan said. Saturday, Mr. Hale looked at Layla. What are you singing? Somewhere Over the Rainbow, she said, like a secret. From the movie, he nodded. He had watched that movie with Nora when she was 8 and then again when she was 11 because the tape had kept in the drawer under the VCR and he had never thought to move it. Then we start with that, he said. He picked up the phone again. Camilla, he said, find a way to loan this dress to Miss Leela for Saturday, cleaned and pressed by Friday evening. Write a policy while you're at it, community lending, quarterly calendar, quiet. Evan bristled. We can't accept. It's a loan, Mr. Hale said. You'll sign for it. You'll return it Sunday. If it tears, I will call it history and frame it. Layla looked at Evan. Please, she said. I'll give it back, I promise. I'll fold it so nice. Evan rubbed his face. He looked at the red. He looked at the man who was suddenly not the man he'd thought he'd be facing if he ever faced him. Alone, he said. No cameras, no posts. No cameras, Mr. Hale said. No posts. This is not for anyone else. Okay, Evan said finally, and it sounded like a door easing open on a stiff hinge. They moved to the fitting room again. Leela practiced one more twirl and almost tripped. She laughed. Mr. Hale smiled without trying to hide it. As she changed back, he had one more call to make. Also, he said into the phone, a small scholarship fund for girls like Nora. Not from us publicly, from an anonymous donor. Contact the community arts program near 114th, the one with the peeling paint and the teacher who never gives up. Yes, start there, Evan heard. He didn't react. He put Leela's sneakers back on her feet and tied the laces tight. They stepped out onto the sales floor with the same eyes from before, but the eyes didn't look the same. News moves faster on staff than on any wire. The guard watched his shoes. The salesman with the smirk stared at the ceiling like it was a museum display. Mr. Hale walked beside them. He stopped at the door. He looked at Leela. Do you like granola? He asked. She laughed. Mom said your name sounds like granola. She said it when she made me oatmeal and raisins. He nodded, smile small and bright. Come back Friday, 3 o'clock. They left. The door closed behind them with the little bell that only rings in old stories. The week was a list and a prayer. Evan worked 2 shifts and bartered another. He taped the recital flyer to the fridge. He cleaned Leela's blue dress just in case the red didn't feel right. He found the ribbon Nora used to tie Leela's hair when she was 3 and wondered if it mattered that the ribbon was a tiny bit frayed. At night, when Layla slept, he unfolded one of Nora's old letters and read it to the sink. He had never mailed most of his replies. He had written them anyway. Friday at 3, they stood in the no-person's land of luxury, at the threshold between revolving door and guard. The guard opened the door without touching it. The manager was gone. A new face stood at the counter, a woman who had the careful kindness of someone who had learned it the hard way. Miss Leela, she said, right on time. They went to the back. The dress hung in a garment bag, documented like a museum piece, which made Leela giggle. Evan signed the loan form like it was a treaty. He read every line. He underlined the phrase, no cost. He underlined it again. Mr. Hale stepped in as they were leaving. He looked tired, like someone who had vacuumed the inside of a vault, but lighter, like dust had settled elsewhere. He handed Leela a small box. For your hair, he said. Evan stiffened. It was Nora's, he added, soft. A clip. She left it on my kitchen table when she was 12 and took it back and then left it again, and I think she wanted to leave it somewhere it would be found. If you don't want it, we keep it here. Safe. Layla opened it. A simple silver barrette. She lifted it like it might float away. It's pretty, she whispered. It's cool. Evan looked at Mr. Hale. We'll bring it back, he said. Or keep it, Mr. Hale said, and bring it back when you're done keeping it. Evan nodded once. Saturday came with the kind of sunlight that pretends it's bigger than it is. The school auditorium was a room with folding chairs and a stage that wanted to be brave. Parents buzzed, programs fluttered. A row of kids in white shirts fidgeted. Backstage smelled like dust and hand sanitizer. Leela held her stomach and whispered that it fluttered. Evan knelt and breathed with her. In, out, in, out. He smoothed the red dress at her shoulders. He clipped the barrette in her hair. He said, "Remember the kitchen?" She looked up. "When Mommy sang," he nodded. "Exactly then." She took a breath and nodded back. He walked out into the dark and found a seat near the aisle because exits are comfort when life has taught someone to plan for them. He sat. He pressed his palms to his knees. He did not look around. A minute before the lights fell, a man slid into the last seat by the door. He sat straight. He took off his suit jacket and folded it so carefully it didn't wrinkle. He wore a simple sweater that didn't look like anything in a window. Evan didn't turn. He didn't need to. Programs turned. Names were said. Small voices rose, wobbled, found themselves. Applause gathered and lifted in rest. Then the MC called Leela. She walked out thinking about eggs and sunlight and read that wasn't scary. She stopped at the mark. She looked into the dark and couldn't see anything except one shape in a sweater sitting by the exit and another near the aisle with hands on knees. She sang. Her voice wasn't perfect. It didn't need to be. It climbed. It softened. It cracked once like a note that didn't want to be told where to go. It sounded like a girl who had heard a song and made it into a bridge over a lot of road. When she finished, the room didn't roar. It did something better. It held its breath and then breathed out in a long, warm sound that wasn't polite. It was real. She curtsied. The red skirt made a small wave. Evan stood when he clapped and his palms stung. The man in the sweater didn't stand because standing would have unpinned him. His eyes were wet. He didn't wipe them. After, among folding chairs and plastic cups of juice, the man in the sweater waited on the side like he had been told to wait 1,000 times in 1,000 rooms. Leela found him. She walked up and stopped, careful. "Hi," she said. He crouched down against knees that had maybe never crouched like that. "Hi, did I do okay?" She asked. He nodded. "You did the kind of okay that fixes things," he said. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a sticker star from the program. She put it on the back of his hand like a stamp at a club for people who never thought they'd get in. "So you don't forget," she said. He looked at the star and closed his eyes and opened them. "Thank you." Evan approached. The three stood like they were figuring out the dance steps of being three. "Thank you," Mr. Hale said to Evan, "for bringing her here. For everything between there and here I will never see." Evan shrugged. He looked at Leila. "She brought me," he said. "I just opened the door." Mr. Hale nodded. He straightened. He did something he hadn't done in years. He reached out his hand not for a deal but for permission. Evan looked at it. He looked at Leila. He took it. They shook like men do when the deal is a fragile thing that could turn into family if no one pushes too hard. People moved around them, packing chairs, sweeping programs. The janitor leaned on a broom and watched a moment he would later tell his wife about. He would say he looked like the man from those magazines, but he was just a grandpa in a sweater. Leela tugged Mr. Hale's sleeve. "Grandpa Granola," she said. "Do you want to see the cupcakes? I made them with Dad. They're red." He swallowed a laugh that wasn't ready but wanted to be. "I would like that very much." They walked to the table. She handed him one in a napkin. He took a bite and winced because icing is icing no matter how much money someone has. Leela laughed like bells on a bicycle. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded paper. He had carried it all day. He unfolded it. His hands were steadier now. "It's a recital program," he said. "I thought maybe you'd sign it, so I have proof I met a star." Leela took the pen like a solemn thing and wrote her name carefully across printed letters. She drew a tiny heart over the I. She did it without thinking. She did it because that's how her mom used to do it when she wrote the electric company and love notes and lists that said milk, eggs, bravery. He folded the paper again and slid it into his sweater. On Monday, a quiet press release went to local schools. Hale Aitlier announced a community lending program for formal wear, by appointment. No questions, no photos, return on Mondays. There was no photo with it. There was a website page with a form and a line that said, "Because dresses are for memories, not gates." On Tuesday, 3 interns carried a framed note to the store's wall. It was a letter in a shadow box with a coffee stain and a small smiley face over one eye. The plaque under it said, "A reminder." Staff read it twice. Some read it 3 times. The guard started holding the door a beat longer for anyone with a child. On Wednesday, a man in a sweater walked into a small office on 114th with peeling paint and asked a woman who never gave up where to sign a check that didn't have a logo. His hands didn't shake this time. The red dress came back Sunday, cleaned and folded around tissue paper, smelling faintly of heartbeat and cheap auditorium popcorn. A small tear at the hem had been stitched with a thread that didn't match. Evan had stayed up late doing it. He had poked his finger twice and licked the blood and kept going. Mr. Hale found the mismatch when the garment tech didn't. He put a note in the bag. It said, "We keep mending visible here." That afternoon, Evan and Leela stood in the store again, not as a test, but as the start of a rhythm. Leela wore her blue dress and her mother's barrette in her hair. She swung her feet from a bench that had once been uncomfortable and now was not. Mr. Hale sat with them. He asked Layla about school, which teachers were good and which gave too much homework. He asked Evan what he did on Sundays. Evan said laundry and pancakes and letting Leela make a mess with flour. "Good," Mr. Hale said. "Mess keeps things honest." They made a plan without calling it a plan. Wednesday afternoons at the park. No talk of money at the benches. No business in the sandbox, 1 hour at a time. If either felt strange, the other would say so without the world collapsing. Leela looked at the two of them and saw a bridge she could run across when she wanted and sit on when she needed. She picked a hand for each. They walked to the door. The bell rang. People turned. No one bothered them. On the sidewalk, a bus roared by. Leela waved. The driver waved back because drivers do that when small hands appear in the world like a dare. Evan looked at Mr. Hale. "She thinks your name is a breakfast," he said. "She's going to call you that for a while." "I'll answer," Mr. Hale said. They both looked at the little girl between them, at the small coin on her chest catching the sun, at the silver clip in her hair holding more than hair, and at the street ahead that didn't look as long as it had 2 days ago. People would tell the story later the easy way. Poor single dad, luxury store, owner comes out, shock, gasps. But in the quiet parts, the ones that last, there was a letter finally read, a dress loaned without a ledger in the heart, a job lost because of cruelty, a hand offered Madeira and taken, and a child singing a song about a place over something colorful that didn't need to be far away anymore. They walked. The sky didn't change. They did. And that was enough to make the city feel like it was letting them through.